Welcome to Who Put This On, Season 5, Episode 36, where we watch Hoarders, Season 2, Episode 12. I'm Chris Lorenz.
This is Brian.
And Noah Singer.
If this is your first time listening to us, we watch a different reality show each week and go into the minutia and about that episode, see how good or bad it is. Noah, what show do we watch this week?
Yeah, we watched Hoarders. Hoarders is an often painful look inside a disease that can bury its sufferer, literally at times, in its symptoms. Each hour-long episode profiles two people on the verge of a personal crisis, all caused by the fact that they're unable to part with even their tiniest possessions, and a cumulative effect becomes a mountain of junk and garbage overtaking their home or apartment. If they don't respond to professional help, the consequences sometimes involve eviction, kids being taken away, or even jail time. That's Hoarders on A&E.
Thank you, Noah. This is a long-standing show we have not done because guess what? It's hard to watch. It's emotional roller coaster, and not in the way you want an emotional roller coaster to work a lot of the time.
No. Also fun. My parents are actually hoarders.
Oh no, Brian.
Yeah, so a lot of this was like way too real for me.
Oh,
Did you send them? Did you sign them up to be on the show?
No, I've definitely like tried some tactics like from this show though, and I've also tried to show them this show, and that does not work.
Whew,
it's
a lot
help
to
us
unpack.
help us in the audience understand this more. Like on a scale from Hoarders to what we saw to something else. Like where we at?
Like OCD.
Definitely like on this show. Could easily be an episode.
So like you walk into your door, and to your left, there's just like a stack of shit.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all we need to know. Like, how much of the bed is visible?
All the bed.
All the bed. Okay. But can you walk to the bed?
Ooh, that's also tough. Like almost everything in this episode, like I could have like related exactly to my family. That's wild.
Yeah.
Are there any key areas of possessions as we saw on the show? Like there was guns, as one was stuffed animals.
No, like, and that was actually interesting. Like I haven't seen like that, but I did see like the stuff like my dad always keeps spare parts because then it's like, oh, I could use those someday. And then when I can't find them, have to go buy them. And then, yeah, that just builds up. They explicitly refer to that into the show too.
Yeah. It's called, if you have that impulse, you need to also like organize. Like, okay, I'm going to take this spare part. Like my grandfather, I believe, would also be a hoarder. But if you looked at his basement or like wherever he stored stuff, you could easily get around. Everything was like where he knew where everything was. Like you didn't, like if you're like, hey, I need an alarm clock. All right, get up. He'd walk down to the basement or up in the attic and he'd bring you out an alarm clock or bring you out whatever you asked for. But like if you went down looking for any of that, you're like, fucking, like there's no way.
Okay, that was also something that was wild that like people can just remember that shit. Like that was also something that happened on this show. And I just don't know how you remember that. Like, why? I can't remember like half the time like where this pencil is, and that's the clean countertop.
I don't know. I just think if you don't throw anything away, like he never threw anything away because he has like your dad, where he's like, I might need this, but like he actually knows where all that stuff is.
Right.
I do think that's like a good way to like help make a continuum, right? Of like you can have a lot of stuff, but like knowing where it is. Maybe not forgivable, but like you get it. Then there's like, oh my god, that's there. Like what?
When you're looking at these houses, like we could go over the houses, but like when you're looking at them, you're like, there's no way you know where any of the stuff is. It's just piles and piles of stuff. That there's like, you might know the like superficial things, like in the kitchen, you might know where the coffee is because like you use it a lot. But like, do you know where your pink elephant stuffed animal is? Like, no, you have no idea.
But
do you even know you have a pink stuffed animal? Pink elephant stuffed animal?
I think that they do know, and I think it's just like it is in their head. Like it definitely seemed like a lot of them knew where stuff was.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get a whole lot into that. Like, all right, let's get a little into this episode.
Yeah.
We're a little weeds a little bit, but okay. So we get to meet two families, and we get to see their houses. So the first family we get to see is what's her name?
Nadine.
Nadine. I think my thing got messed up. Nadine and Dennis. They live in this house, and their daughter is Heather, and they're just like they're a hoarder. Dennis hoards guns, and Nadine just keeps buying shit and like leaving it all around the house. And like in this house, there was just like stuff that wasn't opened or ever used, and just like clutter all over the place. And the dad was super depressed, and he just never left his room, which caused a lot of health problems in general. Like if you don't leave your room, you're gonna have problems. 2020 also says hello on that one. So there's just a lot of tension in this house too, because they're like living in the same house, but I don't see them interacting all that much in general. The only interactions are just kind of like getting food or like just like try to stay out of each other's way is really what I can gather from this relationship, right?
Yeah. And they also blame one another for like the situation. They both know it's bad, and then it's like, no, this is your fault for buying shit. No, this is your fault for like all the sports shit.
To a certain degree, Nadine's also seems pretty protective
Of the stuff.
Dennis.
Yeah.
She of Dennis, but of the stuff. Like
That too. But like she definitely as the episode goes along, you definitely see that she needs to be in control of the situation. Like this is like her thing, and I saw that continually throughout the episode. Like basically, she's in charge, and it's like her way or the highway.
So that's also like a big thing about it is like in general control. Like you'd see that in other episodes too.
Yeah, it definitely seems like she wants to be in control, but then she has like impulse problems and buy stuff that she doesn't need, but then has nowhere to put it. And just puts it wherever. And then Dennis seems to have an issue with this control where he fights back by threatening her. A lot of there's like threatenings on camera of like, you know, you're glad I don't have my guns with me. And he's got multiple guns in his bedroom. Like
And hand crossbow.
And a hand crossbow. Nuts. Also, it's unclear if any of these guns are loaded. We didn't see them loaded. Like we saw some sheriff came in to take the guns because CPS and all these people they brought in to help move or help clean.
No. 1-800 junk removal or 1-800 junk can remove, and then it's APS, something new to me.
Yeah.
It's not Child Protective Services, Adult Protective Services.
That's true. That is a note I have down. It's like, oh, didn't know that was a thing. When they came in, they had to have the sheriff around because there were so many guns in this house. He has like 50 plus guns, which is insanity.
There were just guns in the pile, and like that's why like you don't know if they're loaded, so it's like, oh shit, like you do the wrong thing, nothing's going off.
And it's not just guns. Like there was some like hunting knives. There was a knife there was a sword, one of those umbrella swords. They were like went into his room. He's like, okay, we need to take the guns out of this room. We've done everywhere else, but this room, where are they? Okay, we've got one here in like the top drawer. Oh, we got another one in the top drawer. Oh, we got one in this junk pile. Oh, you want to check out that umbrella too? And he just pulls up, and then see that thing in that junk pile? Oh, that's a hand crossbow. Just like nuts. No gun safes in this house.
I feel like that was part of like his control though. Like he also needed some kind of control, and it's like, oh, I have all these weapons to defend.
Some people just like shooting guns and then getting guns. Like I get it.
But he didn't leave his place to shoot the gun, and he didn't shoot it out the window, I think.
No, yeah, like one thing actually, it's pretty clear. They never talk about using the shit they have for both of the houses. Like it's not about utility.
Definitely not.
It's about having.
Oh yeah, I mean Nadine definitely.
Definitely for both.
We didn't really get the thing is, like, we're sitting here talking about what we think their psychological problems are, but I don't think the show gave us like we got a glimpse, but we didn't get a whole lot. I have no idea what Dennis's problem is, to be honest with you.
This show gave like a good insight. Like if you, there's a fairly common theme in all the episodes. Like you don't really see anything like out of the ordinary. Like it all boils down to like the same basic things.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, on the basic level, in every single episode of Hoarders, somebody has control issues where they won't throw things away. There's some sort of psychological problem where they won't throw things away. And there's a specific thing they said in the beginning of the show that they have this problem. I don't remember the name of the problem. I probably should have wrote it down. So it's like, it's defined.
Well, for Dennis, it was a couple things. There was depression, obsessive compulsion disorder, OCD, and then I can't forget if there was actually like a clinical derivative of OCD for hoarding.
I think there was
that they talked to.
It was like in the like lettering in the beginning. Why don't you internet corner that now a while?
Oof.
Yeah,
it was a 4-letter acronym, I believe.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, those things kind of went by fast.
I mean, they did say that like Dennis like retired, and this problem went from like, you might have a hoarding problem to you hoarders. So like, it seems like the tension between the two created this environment where they're both just kind of like at odds with each other, which makes them stressed out, which makes them turn into more hoarding, I guess.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle once it starts.
Yeah, it was definitely a confluence of like health issues in general. Like there was the mental, then clearly there was physical as well, and then physiological. It's like everything compounding. In an update, hoarding disorder is a disorder. Like it's on
that's just what it's called.
Yeah, mayoclinic.org.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You don't have this show without like a full disorder. Like these people have a problem, and there's like lots of them.
Yeah, the one thing I was shocked with, beginning of the episode, it said 3 billion people.
Well, that's like a 1% of people, I guess, in the U.S. Right?
Yeah, it seems like a lot. I'm looking on the American Psychological Association. It's a .org. I'm assuming it's somewhat legitimate. About 2.5% of the population. So I mean, even if you're at 1 to 2%, like that seems really high.
I don't think there's some scale here, Noah. The people on the show like are obviously the extreme scale. I think that there's like some people in between. Like my grandfather had this problem, right? Like if you don't throw things, if you have a problem throwing things away, like when Con Marie is like, "Hey, throw things away," you're like, "What? I can't throw anything away." Then you have this problem. But like, you know, if you store things regularly, or if you actually throw them away, but you have problems throwing them away, then like you could be placed in this disorder. But a lot of people have OCD where it just like doesn't affect their lives. They're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna wash my hands more or whatever," and it's not a problem.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back of this. It actually is a classified subtype of OCD according to the DSM, but it was only added to the DSM in 2013.
The show.
What?
The show got it in there.
I mean, pretty much the show came out in 2009, right? So I'm sure there is some kind of pressure, you know, in writing the latest one.
All right, I think we got to talk about. So like the beginning of the show, or like the beginning here, we get to like intro these people and like their current house environment. And then we get to have like a psychologist come in essentially and like just do a brief tour of this house. And like when these psychologists is doing this tour, it's just like, how does this person have a straight face? Like it's just, they're like, how long has this happened? There's bugs? How long have they been there? Like, just like questions where you're like, I think I need to leave this house. And I feel, you know, I'm impressed by these people. Even I'm sure they deal with that every day. It's part of their job. But
Oh
Keep,
yeah,
keeping a straight face is hard.
super impressed by that. Like, especially during now and like COVID times when like you have a mask to go outside and sanitizer in your pocket. Like seeing them going through this, I'm like, put a mask on, put a mask. Like wear
Yeah.
your gloves.
Yeah, you need a mask. Well, we'll talk about the other couple after we've gone through this. But then the show brings in 1-800 got junk or whatever, with their like trucks to like throw shit away, and they bring in a quote unquote professional organizer, which I'm not sure. Like, I'm sure there are professional organizers, and these people might be one, but it's I don't know, it's a hard profession to like quantify as like your job. And then they bring the psychologist is there, and they work with these people to try and get them to throw out all their crap. So they're not like, people aren't just coming in throwing crap away. Like, the people in the house are very involved in this process. And it is a 2-day process, which is not nearly long enough for this. Like, not even close.
No,
This is like, you need, you could only do like, I could only do like a couple hours of this a day. There's no way. Like, so many decisions need to be made. So much like psychological, like, oh, I need a break from just deciding the stuff needs to go. And you're not used to saying, take this stuff and throw it away. Like, that's just not who you are, right? This is just like purely, it seems like a show thing where they like, okay, we have to shoot this thing in 2 days.
I don't know if it's an artificial thing. I think it's more of like hey, we're gonna put pressure on you psychologically, because you need to time box it to say, we're not gonna draw this out. Like, you have to start making decisions if you want to change, and that's gonna be a forcing function. And then the second thing is like, it can't be that long, otherwise like you're just gonna like keep procrastinating. Like 2 days seems kind of good to like keep it tight. Like, tomorrow's the last day. Like, you can't like put it off one day.
I think it's a bit of both, right? Like I find a strong parallel with the show last week, Biggest Loser, where similar like shock treatment, right? Like, we're not going to go slow. We're going to shock the system, and then you're responsible for keeping this up once it's over. But, and I think that's also how you make a profitable television program, right? So, a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, like, Brian, so like this couple seemed like, the first couple seemed like it worked out pretty well. Like, in 2 days, the house looked much cleaner, like at least part of it. I think there was another room we saw that still had tons of stuff in it. It just seems like at the end of 2 days, like, you need another day. You need
Right.
another day. Like, the show made it like, is the one that ended it in 2 days. Right.
Yeah, but like, again, like, you can't just be like, even after like the 2 days, if you give any leeway to be like, oh yeah, well, like, we made such good progress, we can keep going, your progress is going to slow, because now all of a sudden, oh, this can keep going. I see that like what they said is a lie. Like, you can't make any changes to this. You have to put pressure. Like, it's shitty, but like, you have to like kind of instill this, and it's like, oh, here's a better thing. Now let's check back on you later.
Maybe, I don't know. I'd find it hard to believe that, like, in a normal, if you're doing this outside the show, that it's a 2-day process. Like, you're right. It might need to be like a quick process. It might need to be like a week. I don't know. Like, I feel like if I was just given this house, these people don't live there, and I needed to throw out all this shit, it would take me 2-3 days just to do that, just to throw the shit away, let alone like parse what shit I want, parse what shit I don't want. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, I don't think that, like, 2 days seems like an unreasonable amount of time.
Yeah, but I don't think like they also like want to come in and like completely fix the problem. Like, they want to like instill good habits.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that's also part of my issue with the show is like, you come in, there needs to be like you need to be going to therapy for like a little bit before you can even do this like bombshell of like, let's get this clean, and then continue the therapy.
I totally agree on that.
Like, it's just like you have to mentally prepare yourself to get rid of this stuff. Like, you have to. I think you'd have to start with like, okay, I need you to take like, you need to take 2 trash bags full of shit out of your house. Like just go through that process for a little bit and like, okay, leading up to this event where we're just going to clean it all.
So you want to take the Con Marie approach, right? Where like you let them like come at peace with all their things, do some like cleansing, then organizing.
You just like, this is a huge shock to the system. Like, you just need to get ready to get rid of your shit. You can't just get rid of your shit. Like, there's just like, this isn't the best way to do it. Just like The Biggest Loser isn't the best way to do it, right? This is like if you're the daughter and you're like, my parents got this house issue, we signed them up for this show and they're just going to deal with it. This isn't like, let's send them to AA so they can like fucking deal with this real problem they have in a real in the best way that they should.
The one difference, though, I'd say between The Biggest Loser, at least from this episode, the participants on The Biggest Loser are highly motivated.
Oh yeah,
these participants, they seem more they've reached a breaking point and like they're kind of like dealing ish with it, but like they're not really in it. It's like barely half foot in.
Yeah, I agree with you. They like that's what I'm trying to tell you, Noah, is I think that this would be better if you got this would land for them in a long-term better way if you could get them to be like, instead of baby toes, like a foot in, right? Like just like be prepared to get rid of your shit.
Yeah, but I think that's the issue where, because clearly they have resisted for so long to commitment, and like what you're saying is like go to therapy, like that means they have to schedule a meeting, like they don't seem like they have their life together to like follow up on weekly sessions. That like I think you need to jolt the system for these folks to give them a shot, because like it's literally the last straw.
Sure. I mean, yeah, you know, I don't deal with these people. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. If you know people like this, don't listen to me. Okay, go talk to somebody. Brian, not a
doctor.
We don't endorse anything we're saying on this show.
You can only take us for our reality TV advice. Everything else, good luck.
Yeah. All right. So the one thing to say about this particular couple that we see is that Heather. Nadine.
Well, the mom, yeah, Nadine.
Nadine seems to like kind of break down a little bit and like needs to go get a car, wants people to stop, like, but at the end of the day, they got a lot done. So I'm not sure, like, the show portrayed her in a bad light, and I think that's unfair.
No, but they still don't, only slightly in that, like, they didn't really show the progress that they made. Like, the problem that Nadine did exhibit was also pretty common. Like, hey, like, we got to keep you interested, and they can't do any work without her being there.
Yeah, I know that they were showing that a bit, but they still, like, they cleaned up most of the rooms in their house. Like, it felt disingenuous to me at the, like, looking at the results at the end, that saying that she didn't help.
But they made it clear for their house, while they were able to organize it, they actually didn't get rid of anything.
Are you sure? Or was that what the end where they had everything in like boxes and stuff?
In the garage.
Yeah.
They made a point to call that out. And so I would say that's like progress on one dimension, but complete failure on the other.
You got to Con Marie it. You got to give her that. This is pre-Con Marie. So this episode's from 2010, so it's 11 years old at this point.
You touch on getting lunch, and by far the highlight of the episode. By far. So they put Dennis and Nadine in a trailer while they clean up the house, right? Because they have to get around, move everything. There's nowhere to go because there's shit everywhere. Nadine goes to check on Dennis. For some reason, out of the blue, non sequitur, Dennis says, "Can I have a pickle?"
Can you? It was, can you get me a pickle?
No, sorry. We both got it wrong. I have it here. Can you bring me a pickle?
Oh yeah. I think I was a little closer, but yeah.
You were.
There was like in the middle of a fight, and he was like, can you bring me a pickle?" That was definitely the highlight for sure.
Yeah. I am going to use that sometime with the next week, and I just feel bad for everyone who has no idea what we're talking about.
Although I do think that Nadine had some pretty good like lines with some good inflections, which I'm not gonna get right, but like she was like, "Oh my god," she was like, "Oh my god." I can't remember the exact inflection she was doing.
What a goose!
What a goosa! What a goosa! I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, the accents in that household are a little bit all over because their daughter Heather, they didn't say moved overseas, but pretty clear it was like looked like England. And
she
so
sounded like she was in England. Yeah.
It was like this mix of like Cleveland English accent, very off-putting. But I'm sure she's a nice woman.
Man, the last thing I want to say about this couple before we go on to the next couple is that Nadine, that's her name, or no, Heather, definitely looks like, growing up in the house was a nightmare. She like freaks out at some point and starts hitting her head. Like just dealing with her mom must have thrown her therapy back. Like, yes.
Well, she said at one point, like, didn't you ever wonder like why I used to hit myself in the head? And then like that just came back, and I was like, oh my god, like that's just so fucked up mentally.
Yeah, like poor girl. Like kudos to her for like having the wherewithal to get the fuck out. Like she deserves like a big tip of the hat.
I mean, she deserves a medal for coming back to help here. Like, yeah. Well, the thing is like if you're her, and then so we find out that Adult Protective Services has been called for her parents, and if Adult Protective Services takes her parents out of this house, like she's gonna have to deal with the ramifications of that, of like them being in some sort of home and like having to pay or like dealing with, and at some point she's probably gonna have to deal with that anyway because her dad doesn't look like he's in great shape, but like that's gonna be a big onus on her too. So like she still gets a medal for coming back and dealing with her parents, but at some point you might need to just let your family be your family, and you don't need to be there. I don't know. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Easily champion of the episode, Heather.
Easy. We have the worst human being. We have the best human being right here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our second family. We get to see. It's all intermingled while you're watching it, obviously. You've got Erin, the mother. We've got Melinda, the daughter, and Heather, the daughter and sister. So they they hoard. They're hoarders. They hoard they like stuffed animals. They just keep buying stuffed animals, run them all over the place. And
yeah. The shocking part about that though, and they made a point to call this out, they started collecting stuffed animals at the young age of 15.
No, that was the mom, I thought. The mom said 15, right?
Well, yeah, the daughter started collecting them at age 15.
Oh, I thought that the mom started at 15.
How old are the kids now?
One was 28. I don't remember. I didn't write down the other ones.
They said they had like several hundred stuffed animals. I'm just like wondering the rate of stuffed animal collection now.
It didn't look like they were collecting, like, there's a lot of stuffed animals, obviously. There was somebody's bed, with the whole half the room was almost like floor to ceiling stuffed animals.
That's just a bed of stuffed animals.
We find out later that there's just bugs in that room, and all those stuffed animals essentially have to go because they're like infested with like bugs and stuff.
She literally got bugs in the bed.
Yeah. There was, I hate to say this, but like, so another thing is that like this thing in 10 Cats, and the show was like advertising like, oh, they found this like major troubling thing, and I'm just like, I know this show. It's going to be a dead cat, and it wasn't.
Was it?
It was just
was.
It was carpet beetles.
Do they often find dead cats?
Oh yeah,
Really?
because like you just have all this junk. You have a cat, and then it just gets like stuck, and you don't realize like, oh, where's this other cat? People.
One thing like they have 10 cats. The one thing I would have surprised that no one said, the psychologists or like the other people, that it didn't smell. Like no one talked about the smell in this house. Whereas like they talked about the smell in the other house. Whereas if you got 10 cats, no matter how clean your house is, that shit's gonna smell. Like
Yep.
no matter you're a hoarder or not, 10 cats, a lot of cats, a lot of pee, a lot of poop, just like forget it. Your house is gonna smell terrible. And this is like, we don't really get any of that in this house.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't-
that is surprising.
Maybe everybody's just like, the audience gets it. They know.
This guy walks into these houses all the time. He's like, can't smell shit. Thank God.
I think that shows the very unscripted nature of this show, where a lot of reality shows we know there's someone feeding them lines a little bit. Like, if you were to structure these episodes, you'd always talk about the smell.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah, this is one show I would never turn on smell-o-vision for. Or is this the one show, how when you were like, I don't know, when you were younger, you would be like, hey, come smell this. Like, because, I don't know, you're a fucking stupid teenager. And you'd go over and smell that. This could be that show in real life. Like, you'd be like,
There was always a chance that like the marker could smell good. Not in this case.
It maybe could have.
yeah. So it's just weird to have these three people they're in this hoarding house, and like, man, both these houses, you look at their kitchen and you're just like, do you like, like, I want to use my kitchen with all this shit everywhere. You just can't use it.
No.
It's just so gross.
You can see like the only things that they use in there, because like every other piece of space is where stuff goes.
Yeah, just dump the like grocery store stuff on the counters. Just like, then you can't use the counters. Then I'm sure all those things are full of just like stuff, and dirty dishes are just like,
And expired
ugh.
food.
Yeah,
Oh,
just like, ugh. So like the biggest thing here was not adult protective services. It was DSS was called. Just the Department of what something, I don't remember.
Social services.
yeah.
So
think
social
the way-
services still involved.
It might just be like different state stuff. Like I
Yeah,
think
I'm sure.
this was California. The other was in Ohio. So yeah.
I agree.
So apparently, the mother had like some sort of issue, and she was recommended to use a walker. But this is a hoarding house, and guess what? Doesn't really work in a hoarding house is a walker, because there's shit everywhere. And she complains that she breaks her toes walking around this house.
Oh yeah. Like how does she even know? Like, is it just such a severe pain that like, oh, I know I broke my toe. Fuck it. Like, did you go to the hospital for this? Like, I don't
Like,
understand.
so you go, like, I've broken my toe before. It's not fun. It's not a fun experience. I wear casts for like 6 weeks or something. Like,
A sweet toe ring.
yeah, and I had to use crutches. Like, there's no way this lady used crutches. Like, there's no way this lady broke her toe.
No.
At least not her big toe. I don't know what they do for small toes, but
They just tape your like toes together.
yeah, I was just I can't imagine her going to the hospital for that.
Yeah.
They did show shots of her toes, and I didn't really need that.
But you did though.
One quick correction, Brian. They were in South Carolina, actually. Not.
Oh, South Carolina.
Yeah, I want to call it the Cleveland one. So the other thing I guess we could talk about is like the actual cleanup process for them is like they struggled. They really struggled to clean this house. Whereas like if you look at the end of this episode, the end of their house versus the end of the other house, like there's a lot more stuff in this house than the other house. And I don't know if that's just because it was a bigger house and more stuff and like less people to work on it potentially. I don't know. It's very unclear that how the two processes were that different.
I don't think it was the process that was different. Like this one, I immediately saw like, yeah, this is climbing up the walls. Like this is way too. This is gonna be way too much. And then you comment that with the 10 cats is even wilder. The other people, they had like a mess, but like it wasn't that bad.
Okay, all right. I'm not adept at analyzing hoarder houses to figure out how long it's going to take, but like again, this is my point. Is like I just think that they needed more time. The show obviously didn't give them more time. Like
Yeah, I would say in comparison, like the big difference was in Nadine and Dennis's house, they didn't really have consensus or like, hey, we getting rid of this, we're keeping it. Nadine's just like fucking pack it, like just
yeah,
do your goddamn
Dennis
job.
not involved in this part at all.
Yeah,
It
like,
didn't
Dennis
seem
is
like
sitting out, right? In the other house, it's a fucking like 3-party decision making for every single item.
get the Council of Rivendell out here. We have to decide.
Yeah,
Did they still like?
so they are slow poking it.
Didn't they still try to like break it up by like who owned what? Like,
Yeah, they were definitely part like. The other thing is like this is a very stressful experience for everyone involved. Like the people helping are stressed out because you know the people throwing these things away are stressed out because they've kept these things for reasons and they don't want to get rid of them. So like they're stressed out, and then you know when the sister throws away the other sister's thing, even though like you know it's been sitting in the fucking back of the garage for like a decade that they've never used. Like they don't know whose it is, so they just like throw it away. And then there was a scene where they were upset. And it's just like, dude, look at it, throw it away. Like that's essentially what it came down to. But like, it's rough. Everyone is stressed out, and then it's stressing me out watching these people get stressed out.
Oh yeah, easy.
Oh, what else is there to say about this last group? Yeah, I don't think they're going to be all that successful, this last group.
what was funny about the last group? So like thinking about how they each like dealt with their own messes, basically, you can kind of see like who had an easier time at the end. Like one person had like a nearly clean room, and then another still had like pretty giant piles.
Yeah, there's one person that like you could see the bed, you could all her stuff was away. You could walk all the way around the bed, and then you go to this other person's room, which she had to throw most of her stuffed animals and shit away because they were all bug infested. So you were like, but like, still a ton of shit everywhere. Then the mom, some of them were organized, but they're still, you know, they're not. It's not in places. It's just like kind of starting the stacks again. And you know, you look at the living room, and there's still like shit in the living room. Like if there's one place you fucking need to clean, is the living room. Like you need
the kitchen.
Oh,
the kitchen. Yeah.
The order of operations is kitchen, living room, your bedroom. If you have like a spare room that just has a ton of shit in it, okay, deal with that later.
Where do you put the bathroom?
Bathroom might be second. Might be kitchen, bathroom, living room.
That's what yeah.
But like bathroom, you know, it's not a big room, so like hopefully that's not a big deal. You know, cross your fingers. I don't know. But like
get dirty, like even the clean, like because like there's so much dust. Yeah.
Again, I think the cleaning takes a back. Like you're not. This isn't a cleaning job. This is a get fucking shit out of your fucking house job. Cleaning can come in the next day. But I think that if you walk in your door and that room is clean, you will feel 1,000 times % better than if you walk in and there's shit everywhere. Like Dennis, I didn't see too much of a hoarder problem with him because he wasn't involved in anything. And like even Nadine said, like, oh, it's great. He'll love being able to sit on this couch and be able to put like, you know, his drink down. Like I think that will set you in a better psychological place to continue this than anything. Like even your room, like you walk outside your room and you see the living room's clean and your room's not clean, like, oh, maybe I should clean my room, you know? I think that
Anything else we want to touch on the episode?
I have one more thing.
Hit it.
So this was in 2010, but like every TV in this show was from like 1995. It was all CRTs. Some of them had combo VCRs in them. Like this is 2010, guys.
Throwback city. It's
Like
so
I'm not
good.
not even sure I had a TV. Like
Nah, there were some good like cassette tape racks in one of the houses, which was nice to see.
like you know things that people hoard like DVDs. Like there's no DVDs, so the VCRs. We didn't see any of that. This is just like people hoarding random stuff. I don't know. All right, let's get to questions. Let's see. There's no host. We're not doing worst human being. Not doing that.
Yeah. But let's give another top tip of the hat to Heather.
Heather, best human being. You did great. We should tweet at you, say that, you're the shining star. You deserve one. Let's do
it. It might be hard to find her. Like I've been Googling a lot. I can't find last names of these people.
It's just
Probably good.
They don't really want you to know, so
yeah.
Let's do our favorite. Would this show be better as a Queevy?
So just give them less time.
I think the show would be better as a Queevy because it's very stressful to watch, and I'd like less. Like I'd like the not as 40 minutes of stress. Like give me like 5 minutes.
Do you even see like one person taking multiple episodes? Like here's the intro and here's like the cleanup.
I think you could do one person in 10 minutes. I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which it's stretching your Queevy limit a little bit there, but like, so maybe you could shrink it to 8.5. I think like 8.5 might be like the max Queevy. Anyway, I think you could do it. Would it be better than the show? I just think personally it would be more enjoyable for you to watch because it wouldn't be as long.
It's very heavy content for a Quibi, which is something they.
Quibi is more lighthearted.
Yeah, like the only like heavy content I can think of off the top of my mind was that like Pay It Forward show.
Oh yeah,
they did those, which are like sentimental and caring.
This was very, pulling out the heartstrings of this one too.
Yeah, so I'm
what
gonna
about
say
the sex doll one?
Yeah, I don't think you can make this Quibi. I think this is our first rejection.
What about the golden arm? Like the golden arm was really pulling at the heartstrings. All right, let's give drinking rules for this one. I'll go first. Every time you shake your head, take a drink. Brian, you got one?
Every time you feel the urge to puke, go take a shot.
No.
I'm gonna bend the rules a little bit. Every time you're about to enter their house, pour the alcohol over you to sanitize yourself, and every time after you leave, do it again to sanitize yourself.
It's another. I mean, like every time you see a new room that's like just shit everywhere, just take a drink. So like it's a good beginning rule, like beginning of the show rule.
Every time you see an object on screen that you recognize from the past, drink.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good like middle to end show.
I can't top that.
Anytime they have real trouble throwing something away, take a drink. Like
that's gonna be real bad.
Anytime
I like it.
The psychologist or organizer is holding in their true feelings.
So what do you think the production schedule is on this? Do you think that like I mean, obviously this thing is filled like the cleanup is 2 days. You know that. Uh, I assume the like pre stuff was filmed in a day, so it's 3 days. But do you think that like CPS or like Adult Protective Services, all of those things, like they call up the show or the show calls them and be like, "Hey, you got any feelers?" Like, or is it like, "Hey, you know, A&E just like puts out an ad like, no hoarder has a problem. It's like send us a video."
So one of the top Google questions when I was looking at this before was like, how do I get on Hoarders? Give me a second to dive in.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that like AMC or whatever just like came up to like all these services and said, "We'll help you out in
I think
terms."
it's on A&E, right?
Oh, A&E. Okay,
It's on
sorry.
A&E and Lifetime.
Okay.
I mean, I was completely wrong.
Yeah, it's not on AMC.
But like, it's just like, yeah, we'll help you out. We'll make a little bit of profit on this from ads, but we'll help people out.
Well, it's like essentially you get like you're gonna be on the show for free, and we'll bring in these people. That's I mean, there's no if ands or I mean, you might have to be paid a little bit just to be on TV. I don't know, some sort of contract.
Oh yeah, you will pay for that.
Like write stuff.
Interesting enough, when I'm still going in the corner of how to actually apply. Oh, here we go. You can call in 1-800 number. You can fill out an online application, but they say to apply, you better be ready to tape for 3 to 5 days. So that is the production schedule.
All right.
Yeah, their applications actually has a really nice preface to it of like what we're looking for. Individuals willing to tell their story. Individuals motivated to change by a crisis caused by hoarding that needs to be addressed immediately. We need to show how the hoarding has impacted friends or loved ones. These individuals need to appear on camera and share their side of the story. Non-stereotypical cases. They want the extremes.
Yeah. Well, all the stereotypical ones are done. Like we've done those. We can't help you anymore because no one wants to watch those anymore.
No, I agree. You also got like that's an easy filter too. It's like, oh, but I really hope that nobody's going to be like, I'm going to get on Hoarders. I'm going to do something so fucking wild. There'll be 10 dead cats.
Yeah. Their online application is kind of straightforward. It's not as good as the Biggest Loser application, which was like a 50-question essay. Theirs is a little more straightforward. You know, it's like 20 to 30 questions, a lot of multiple choice answer.
We need to make this more of a regular thing. Noah, remember that we should do this. Like look up the like questionnaire how to be on the show.
Yeah, that is a good question.
We can bring it up. All right, let's do our last and favorite question, a real favorite question this time. So we do a stack ranking system. So we do a top, middle, bottom, third, putting reality shows in different buckets. Brian, what do you got for me?
I'm gonna do top of the middle. I think this brought like a real problem to light, and this is actually like one of those good reality shows. Like it does something good instead of just like bringing drama into like everybody's life for entertainment.
Noah, what do you got for me?
I'm also putting it in the middle, but I'm putting it at the bottom of the middle. Yeah, I think they're actually bringing to like Brian says, like actually, which seems like the numbers are overinflating. I still can't wrap my head around like 2% of the population dealing with this. That's just blowing my mind. But it's very solid reality TV. The reason why it is not higher, there clearly doesn't seem to be a great template on how the producers are making these episodes. As they could always have the smell, the cost, like that structure is missing, which I think has some appeal. But for me, I think they could get a lot more content and a lot more story out of better structure for each of the stories. And so that's why it's at bottom of the middle.
Boo. Structure. So it makes these things so boring. I struggle because I think that this show, as like a show, is like top third. So I think it's gonna be a top third, but do I want to watch the show? No. It's very emotional. I'm not getting a whole lot of enjoyment out of this. It's kind of like an art house movie where you're like, yeah, and they hit me. But I don't really need to see that ever again in my life. So like I'm amazed that the show lasted this long. Like I think it's highly entertaining. I think it's very interesting to see these people. And it's very like it's one of those like reality shows that like feels real, has like a real emotional stakes to it that like I don't think it's ever replicated in any other show we've watched on this podcast. So yeah, top third. That's where it goes.
Yeah, this definitely like we didn't do who are the grandparents of the show, but I feel like this show is the grandparents for like the current slate on Lifetime, where it's like My 600-Pound Life, or I'm a small person. I'm a small person married to a 600-pound person. Like, there's this whole stuff that like is less scripted, that's based in reality. And I think these are the grandpappies.
Yeah, I
Yep.
didn't. I skipped that question because I have no idea what inspired this show. Like, is this like Deadliest Catch inspired the show? Like, I don't really know. So, like, this show clearly inspired a lot of shows. So we keep the answer you like just said, but like, what shows inspired this one? I struggle. Like, I don't know.
I'll see if
Yeah,
I can
this-
find a factual answer. Usually through the producers, you can like get a lineage of some type. I'll get back
In
if
the
I can find it.
meantime, on a lighter topic, Brian, I hear you've watched more of a show we watched recently. Can you tell me?
Yeah. I watched more of the show Best Leftovers Ever. Because I was like looking for a new bedtime show and it was kind of soothing. So I watched more of it. I think I learned a little bit more from it. Like they started like saying like, hey, here's a little like cooking tip on like how to reheat your steak if like you bring it home. Like I've never really wanted to bring steak home, but now that I know that like, oh yeah, like if you just like heat up your other stuff in the pan and then like throw it in, like use the residual heat to heat up your steak, like that makes me more willing to like bring something like that home. And also, they're very self-aware about how bad this show is, and it's clear from the jokes and stuff. It's kind of great.
It definitely has that whole like Netflix, like, what's that Nailed It show?
Yeah.
It's like it's got a similar tone, but like not nearly as like gross tone wise. Like it's got a similar tone of like humor, but not like the tone of like self-deprecating, making fun of people because they're bad at things. They're like, which is why Nailed It sucks a lot.
Yeah, and there's no burning on that. There's a lot of positivity. There's always a stupid joke for bringing out the fridge. There's always some stupid thing in there, and also like just some. It's like, oh, come here, boy. Like, come here, fridge. Like a dog.
But people are still making stupid thing, like really stupid things out of the fridge.
I think there was one where it was like they were making something like Asian fusion out of it, and that was kind of interesting. Like I don't think any of the stuff was stupid though. I think all of it was like smart to do with it.
You think any of those things actually taste good?
One person, so like, one of them was like, oh, I had some like ground beef from something, and they made like ravioli with like fresh pasta dough, and they were like, yeah, like with just a little bit of like tweaking on the spices, this could be like restaurant quality. I'm like, really? I mean, I guess with the fresh dough that'd be good, but
Like, I mean, you made ravioli with like old leftovers. I mean, like, that's fine, but like, I don't want that at a restaurant.
I don't know.
no.
If I'm recreating Chef Boyardee, like I am slightly proud of myself because it's Chef Boyardee, like it's kind of haha. But like I'm not like really proud of myself.
Right.
Uh,
Like, but making like your own pasta dough like is kind of impressive. It's a little tough.
Brian, do you have any other shout outs?
Finished season 1 of The Expanse. Hell of a good show. It's I gotta admit, season 1 is a little tough to get into. There's a lot of info coming at you,
Definitely.
but then like you remember it like I've started season 2, and it gets easier, and especially if you like fully understand season 1.
Yeah, I mean it gets better. Like it just builds on itself, and like
Yeah.
season 1 really has to build the world, and like it's not the easiest thing to build, and I think they take their time, and that's like hard, especially with like some weird stuff that starts happening.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend. Noah, you got a shout out this week?
This week, man. I'm trying to think of anything I didn't speak to. Pretty sure I spoke to everything I've been watching because primarily my TV intake is just trying to get through The Office. And I'm gonna be doing that for a while. So yeah, no, but let me just give an update. The lineage for Hoarders. It's actually just the like the Lifetime Discovery History Channel TV shows. So early producers did do Deadliest Catch. They also did like how is it made? You know that show, like you go into the factory and you see stuff move around. And there's others that just like these basic reality shows from the beginning. There was nothing that was like they were sitting on their couch and had an aha moment. Like it was many producers probably just like, great, let's go do this.
I wonder if it's like a court TV show, you know, like this guy, like there is just like somebody's in some sort of court for some sort of hoarding situation, and they're like, oh, I wonder, like this is one of the original bastardizations of like the History Channel shows where it's like, you know, we're doing some sort of reality show because it's cheap to produce, but it kind of fits our theme, even though I don't know what because like A&E is like a court network, right? That was our thing back in the day. I don't know what they are now.
Arts and entertainment.
I think they were like a court network for a long time, so like that would make more sense to me. Like they would do like cops and like they would show like Law and Order repeats like on loop all the time.
Not surprising, but Chris, what have you been watching on the tele?
So WandaVision has started. I can't recommend that show, right, at least right now. Like it's real boring. It's like if they took sitcoms and made bad versions of sitcoms, and like they're trying to make some sort of mystery. I don't know. I don't like. Maybe I'll get back to you when it's over if it's worth like sticking it out. I don't know. It might be the first Marvel thing in a while that I'm like, ugh. I don't know.
Are you caught up to season or episode 3?
Episode 3 so far.
Yeah.
Which by the time this comes out, episode 4 will be right around the corner. I don't know. That's kind of my shout out this week. And tweet at us if you have a problem with my WandaVision claims. At Who Put This On, you can find us on Facebook.com/Who Put This On. You can email us questions, suggestions at whoputthison@gmail.com. See you guys next time.
No, how did the pickle make you feel when they threw out the pickles?
Oh man, I
kind of want a pickle now.
Oh, I don't have one though, and
I do. You want me to deliver it to you?
I got pickles too. How do you not have pickles on hand? Like what kind of?
It's not a usual thing of mine.
What kind of Jew are you? I mean, oops.
I'm not though, but okay.
That was a joke.
I thought.
You're an honorary Jew, Brian.